This is the Dover Download Podcast. My name is Christopher Parker, and for the past 25 years, I've had the pleasure of working with, learning from, and talking to a variety of volunteer, staff, and community members. This podcast explores conversations, activities, and a variety of policies and programs which exist here in Dover to improve the community in one way or another. This week, we continue our look at the proposed FY26 budget. You can see more information on the City of Dover website under the Budget Revealed portion of the website. Starting off this budget conversation is Chief William Breault, representing the Police Department. Chief, good morning.
Good morning, Chris.
The FY25 budget is what we're in now, and the FY26 budget is what you're proposing and prepared, and recently you presented to the City Council what that includes for the Police Department. Can you walk the listener through what your thought process is when you're generating those requests?
Sure. Obviously, we look at our mission and our vision, right? I mean, our mission is to make sure that the City of Dover stays as safe as possible, and we're responding to, emergencies and crimes. Yeah, and we're able to solve those crimes. But also, over the last several years, we've really increased our ability to help those in need in a non-criminal way through our social work program and some of our prevention efforts. So when we build the budget, we look at our priorities. The ability to respond to crimes and to keep the public safe is our number one mission, and that's really where it starts. The way we build the budget is at the lowest levels of the police department, our first-line supervisors provide input really up the chain of command as to what they need to run their individual shifts or units or bureaus as effectively as possible. And ultimately, all of those requests come up to me, and I sit down with my command staff, and we parse through those. And often there's a lot of duplicates, and we look at that, and we use those, and then look at our priorities, again, looking at our mission and vision to really help kind of strategically identify what's needed. Also understanding, we're stewards of the public's money, of tax money, and looking at that and making sure that we're being as efficient as possible in running the police department.
Right. It's not how can we spend this money? It's how can we get the best return on that investment?
Right. Really the most bang for our buck, so to speak.
So is there anything that major changing in the FY26 budget? Really,
the biggest change for us is the cost for personnel increases. Last year, the police department has 2 collective bargaining unions. Both of those unions have new contracts. Those contracts do include hourly wage adjustments along with other things, benefits that go with those. And that's really the biggest driving increase to the budget. But it's important to understand it's the people that get the job done, right? It's not the police cars. It's not the radios. It's not any of the equipment that we need to purchase. Those things are important, but without the people, we wouldn't be able to do anything we do. So we need to make sure that we are compensating our people appropriately. 2 or 3 years ago, we really fell behind the regional average for what a police officer and some other staff members were getting paid. And I think that really led to, our ability to retain people as well as more importantly, our ability to recruit new people. As people retire, that's always going to happen. There's always going to be some turnover, but we need to be as competitive as possible with, not just our local community, but now really, statewide, we need to be as competitive as possible. We also provide other things. We provide opportunities that some other agencies don't. But the fact of the matter is, if a young officer can't pay his mortgage, he's not going to come here. So we need to make sure that we're paying our people well enough to at least be competitive.
Chief, appreciate you coming in and walking us through the budget and your experience putting it together.
Thanks, Chris. My pleasure.
All right. Thanks, Chief. Now we're going to have Chief Perry Plummer walk us through the proposed FY26 fire and rescue budget. One of the things we've been trying to cover is changes in the proposed 26 budget from the proposed 25 budget. I know you didn't have a hand in the 25 budget, but you certainly helped effectuate it, and we're currently in the process of it now. When you came in, what were some of the things you were looking at and making recommendations to the manager on the 26 budget?
When you come in from the outside, the first thing you do is you grab the budget, you take a look at it, say, where are we at now? Where are we headed? And what efficiencies are there that we can make along the way? So when I came in, we got the group together, the administrative staff together, all the firefighters, all the fire officers, and talked about where we're at, what we do well, and where we need to improve. And then we looked at the budget to try to plug those dollars into those comments and those ideas and thoughts. The 26 budget will be different than the 25 budget. There's no question about it. Sure. We're looking at more of the needs rather than the wants. We're really trying to affect where the rubber meets the road, which is our emergency response. How do we make a difference to Mrs. Jones, the business owners, and the people in need? Yeah. So everything else is a nice to have. Those are the need to have. So we really wanted to look back and say, look, how do we improve the need to haves and take care of the nice to haves on the back burner? So to do that, we started looking at the budget and we started reorganizing how we do business. You saw that during our CIP presentation. We saved $1.5 million by reorganizing how we buy fire apparatus. And then we were able to move them up so our maintenance costs and those things will start to go down over time. So we've already started some of those things. We've implemented a quality continuous improvement program with our EMS program. We have peer review, making sure our EMS service and our patient care is some of the best that's out there. But with that, we were able to spread some of that administrative and that oversight across our organization. Therefore, we're able to reduce some of our administrative help and put it back online. And that's what you'll see in the big move in this 26 budget. We're taking our administrative chiefs, pushing them back online, putting them where the rubber meets the road, having them go on emergency 24/7, have leadership out there 24/7, and increase our staffing where the rubber meets the road, where the need is. We're going on 8,000 calls a year. Of that, which is a tremendous amount of calls to go on in a year.
Sure.
With that being said, over 2,300 times we're on more than one call at a time. So our resources are stretched thin. We need to regenerate, look at where those resources are needed to make a difference, to save life, protect property, and cut down on pain and suffering. That's really what we need to do.
So you're looking at it and saying, regardless of where we've been, this is where we're going to go. And this is the staffing levels. This is the resources we need to be successful moving forward.
Exactly. And, there's two ways of doing that. One is throw money at it.
Sure.
Add a ton of help and do that. The second way is say, where should our resources that we have be put?
Yep.
To affect the saving lives and protecting property, which is our ultimate mission. You get a mission statement, you can everything else, but ultimately we're there to save lives, protect property, and decrease pain and suffering. So the quicker that we can get more resources on scene, no matter if it's a EMS call or a fire call or a broken pipe for a business, that's going to complete that mission. So to do that, we took our administrative staff in this budget, eliminated them, and moved them back to line. So we have greater line staffing for the emergency calls. Does that put more of a burden on myself and the deputy chief? It does. We've had to spread some of that administrative duties across the organization. I can't say enough about our fire officers, our firefighters, and administrative staff who are willing to say, yes, I will take on more of this accessory administrative staff so we could have more resources when there's an emergency.
Am I correct in understanding you that there's no increased staffing, it's just reallocation of existing staff to a more frontline role as opposed to a support staff role?
Great question. We're pushing 3 division chiefs back to line.
Yep.
We 2 division chiefs and 1 assistant chief. We're eliminating assistant chief's position. We're taking 2 division chiefs and pushing them back to line where we think they can do the most good. But we have, as you know, we talk in multiples of 4.
Right.
Because we have 4 shifts to cover 24/7, 365 days a year. We have to have 4 shifts. So we need 4 to complete this task. So we're looking for 1 more position in this budget to complete that. So we're pushing 3 back to line, downgrading 1, and then adding 1 staff member. With that being said, to help pay for that 1 staff member, we've eliminated a lot of the, what I call nice to haves in the budget. It's great that we're looking for accreditation, and I think everybody would like to see us be accredited.
Sure.
But that's accreditation diploma and a filer on the wall does not make as much difference as having someone show up at your house when you're in need and there's an emergency. So we're eliminating all those administrative type costs, all those administrative projects for now, and putting everything back to emergency response, which should be our number 1 priority. That doesn't mean that we don't think accreditation is super important,
right?
But to pay for some of the administrative functions of accreditation is a nice to have, not a need to have. So we're trying to decrease all those extra projects that were nice to have and put everything right back to need to have where it's going to make a difference to the public.
And you and I both know and have experienced that if we don't plan for the future, we're going to have problems. But that doesn't mean everything has to be implemented now. And sometimes you need to take a breather year to reset and refocus. And it sounds like that's what you're really doing, is saying, here are our core functions. Let's make sure we're embracing those. And as we move forward, we can reevaluate and reprioritize when it makes sense to make some of these other adjustments.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a time and place for everything.
Right.
And right now I think that, times are going to get harder. I think we need to refocus our efforts to where we have to provide the services, where the citizens want us to provide the services, and make sure that we decrease those chances of a life being lost and or people laying on the floor longer, or a broken pipe that runs forever and a business is out of business. So I think we have to get back to that core function. With that being said, we're running 8,000 calls. We're functionally running the same way as we were when we were 5,000 calls. Yep. And it was time to reorganize and make those moves. And that's not an easy move. We're changing what people do. We're changing their work schedules. We're changing a lot. And we've had tremendous cooperation in looking at this change from our firefighters, from our fire officers, from administrative staff. And we have someone just retired, so that gives an open position. So it's the perfect timing to regenerate, make that move, and make sure that we're where we need to be for our core functions, and that we're taking care of our full core functions first.
Well, I look forward to supporting you in this effort, and look forward to seeing the council conversation about this and moving forward. Thank you. Kevin Hebert, Director of Recreation. Kevin, thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
So recently you gave a presentation to the City Council about your proposed budget, and want to hear from you about what went into that budget, what your observations are. It's an interesting one, and the fire chief before you had the same scenario where it didn't write the FY25 budget. You're implementing it, but now you're looking at that and saying, okay, that's my baseline. What do I want to change or keep? What's that like?
I had to take a look historically at really the last 5 budgets just to kind of get a view of the 10,000-foot view from above. And
good.
I took a little different approach to it and really involved my my office staff and my assistant director in the planning pieces of it, really to make sure historically I was kind of on the right track, but also really to bring them into the loop on a lot of the budget items that in the past they hadn't been aware of. So it was a great educational opportunity I think for all of us to really look at how money comes in, how does it go out, are we being efficient with those monies, et cetera. And so I think it was a pretty good process.
Historically, we've seen certain areas of the rec budget that are self-supporting through fees and through memberships. That continuing?
Yes. So there's really 3 main sources of funding. Obviously, the general fund, the McConnell fund, which is a pretty self-sufficient funding purpose, and then also the special revenues, which is all of our programming and fees. So essentially 100% of both those 2 facets of the budget are funded by those sources. And then I think it's up to 60 to 70% of the general fund revenue takes care of the rest of the budget.
So across the fitness space, the pools, and the arena, those are fairly large areas themselves. How do you bring that all together and then add in the McConnell Center on top of it?
Yeah, it's a big approach, and obviously as you go line by line through a budget that large, it's really looking at making sure that the needs are met, everything from equipment to maintenance. I think those are really the big items with those buildings. And as things age, obviously things get more expensive. So trying to make sure you're being fiscally responsible, but also looking at bigger picture systems, things, HVAC systems, those type of things to ensure that if you do have an issue, you're prepared for it.
Any major changes that the public should be aware of?
I would think the major change in our department, we took a look at the programming fees across the board. In particular, a lot of our non-resident fees, we felt that just kind of needed to be brought up a little bit to more of a fair market area, and really tried to keep a lot of the raises on the fees on our residents down as much as possible. But I'd say that's generally where we've had the most of our increases is in fees.
No one likes a fee increase, regardless if it's recreation or the price of eggs. But I think one of the things we always have to remind folks on is you're getting a great bang for the buck. You're providing a value, and people are enjoying it, they're using it, and they are benefiting from it.
Absolutely. And so some of the research we did was in regards to this budget would be that, the overall budget for taxpayers is really for recreation is about 1%, or equivalent of about $80 annually. And so if you look at all the offerings we have for everyone in the city, I think it's really remarkable that, for on average $80 per citizen, they have access to really state-of-the-art recreational facilities and recreational programming.
As we wrap up, is there anything else the public should know about the FY26 proposed recreation budget?
Other than we're just really looking at what we've maintained in programming, but also looking at trying to bring new programs in, but really then making sure if we have adequate staffing to do so. But I'm not one to really kind of sit in a stagnant mode with programming. I'm always looking at kind of the next phase of really where we want to head. And I think that there's a few ideas on the table, and based on how the staffing piece comes out of it, we're looking to maybe make some additions.
Great. Thank you for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
Next up on our review is the Department of Planning and Community Development. Director Donna Benton is joining us. Donna, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. We are talking today about the municipal budget for FY26. If you can walk the listener through what you and your staff do to propose to the manager a budget, and then also what highlights you might have in the upcoming budget.
Sure. So as we know that the budget season is coming upon us, we usually sit down as a group and figure out if there's anything such as different requests that we would need. I look at the previous budget and see if anything that I know of has increased. And I've looked at different transfer requests to see if I've had to move money around throughout the year to see if I had budgeted incorrectly in the past years. So all of those things I kind of take into account, and then I look at our strategic plan and our master plan to see what is coming forward.
So in the next fiscal year, what sort of items are you identifying?
So in the next fiscal year, we are looking at doing our transportation chapter of our master plan as this year's update or next year's update. So that is one of the more expensive chapters to update because it's so technical in the knowledge.
There's a lot of data that you need to analyze and review.
Yes. So I had to request a higher amount for that master plan chapter than I typically would. So that's probably our biggest project and biggest effort that we'll be making in fiscal year 26.
Any staff changes?
Just in terms of professional development, we have a couple staff members that are interested in their AICP. So I wanted to budget for that and for their professional development dues. And just in general, some of our memberships are increasing.
And finally, inspection services. You've overseen them for a few years now. Any change in the budget for inspection services?
Yes. So this will be their first time on their own in their own facility. So we have to account for things like water and sewer investment fees, their own copier, things like that. So we've had to make those increases as well since they'll be in their new facility.
Any other changes that the listener should know about?
That's about it. Those are the highlights, is really the transportation chapter and inspection services having their own facility.
Thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
As we wrap up with this episode, I want to remind you the Budget Revealed website off of the City of Dover, Maine homepage is a great resource to learn about Kevin, Perry, and Bill's budgets, as well as the other ones presented to the City Council and workshop session. And it's a good place to link on to the Budget Revealed email blast that goes out weekly about our budget and about our prioritization. Thanks and have a great day. Dover has a wealth of history in its over 400 years of existence. Coming up, Mike Gillis is going to share some of that history with us.
This week in 1912, Dover's Stratford Savings Bank on Washington Street took what it said was an innovative step towards security and convenience by announcing the introduction of fingerprint identification for depositors who either could not sign their names or whose handwriting was difficult to read. The initiative was one of the first of its kind in New Hampshire. Fingerprinting was not entirely new, already widely utilized by police forces globally in criminal identification efforts. However, this marked one of its earliest known adaptations for commercial use, specifically within the banking industry. Stratford Savings Bank sought to reduce risk and prevent errors associated with unclear signatures or misunderstandings in handwritten records. P.A. Flack, a renowned fingerprint expert from New York, was in Dover to oversee the installation of this advanced system. Bank officials underscored that the fingerprint method would be used selectively, specifically targeting depositors unable to sign their names clearly or reliably due to illiteracy, disability, or language barriers. Mr. Flack explained that the human fingerprint, like handwriting, was distinct and unique to each individual from birth until death. Flack noted that no two fingerprints had ever been found to match among approximately 64 billion. The Stratford Savings Bank was inspired by other large institutions, notably the Williamsburg Savings Bank in Brooklyn, New York, which successfully adopted fingerprint identification for its over 100,000 depositors. Moreover, the American Bankers Association, to which Stratford Bank belonged, had endorsed the method, advocating its widespread adoption to enhance security nationwide. Depositors affected by this change would use specially designed signature cards and withdrawal slips, featuring spaces for fingerprint impressions. The system involved a straightforward yet precise process. Depositors pressed their fingers onto an inked glass surface and then onto paper, leaving clear and distinctive markings. Examination under magnification revealed unique patterns of rings, arches, and coils, akin to intricate designs of skin formation. Stratford Savings Bank's introduction of fingerprint identification represented what the bank saw as a progressive step toward enhanced security and reliable identification practices. Although the use of traditional fingerprinting at banks diminished over time, a version of the security measure was still used by many banks in the form of a thumbprint signature introduced in the 1990s to combat check fraud. That practice continued until the mid-2010s. Today, many larger banks now use state-of-the-art biometric systems, such as fingerprint scanning.
Thanks for listening to the Dover Download this week. If you like what you heard, subscribe through your favorite podcast aggregator. And if you have something you want to hear a topic on, let us know. Finally, this is just one of the many ways we share information about the city of Dover. You can subscribe to the Dover Downloads email newsletter every week or other newsletters that we have by going to the City of Dover homepage, www.dover.nh.gov. Have a great week.